And one reflection, maybe, is that this indicates that monitoring or policing operation, that Dunkirk to Calais stretch, is actually becoming more effective.
There's no doubt about that. There are increased patrols there. The police are regularly catching up with the boats before they get launched into the sea and puncturing them. There's miles of security fencing that we saw in the report as well. So that's making it more problematic for the people smugglers attempting to launch from those beaches that are closest to the UK. It's forcing them much further down the coast. But that then brings with it much more in the way of added complications for those boats trying to get across, because it's a much bigger stretch of water. They are then subject, of course, to fast-running tides, to the winds. They could end up anywhere.
Yeah, and therefore putting themselves at more risk. I mean, obviously, that Calais to Dover, you can literally see the coastline on the horizon. If they launch, and I think Port Mahon is way, way down, you launch there, you're just into open sea, effectively.
Yeah, and, you can't see then the English coast, so they, for instance, when they set off from Calais or Dunkirk, they can see the masts, the sort of red radio masts on the horizon that they basically just aim for. You can't see that the same. And as I say, if you've got a fast-moving tide or a wind, it can knock you way off course. And that journey across anyway is 5 or 6 hours doing the shortest route. So you could be in the water for 12 hours or more. And that obviously puts those taking that risk at greater risk of harm. But it's also the knock-on effect is that the services on the UK side could be called into action anywhere down that coast.
And this is going to stretch the resources. I mean, we've got now, I think they've got the Small Boats Command, wasn't it, where they reorganise. But, I mean, clearly, if they're going to have to think about going down from Folkestone and further down, perhaps even towards the Sussex coast, they're going to have to cover a lot more ground, or water, open water.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that authorities on the Sussex coast will be seeing more in the way of boats coming across into that area as well. It's just one of the inevitable consequences of these boats launching from further south along the coast in France. And yeah, you're right, because the authorities have been quietly planning for potentially double the number that came last year, which was just under 46,000, coming across this year. It's all dependent on the weather. We haven't had the best of weather over the last 2 to 3 months. But if things improve, then the numbers will come across very significantly.
And where are we with the investigations into the people smuggling gangs? I mean, as you reported here before, they're making more money smuggling people than they are from drugs, for instance.
Yeah, well, this is the one way of trying really to be a bit more effective in dismantling these operations, to go after the gangs. But they've become very sophisticated in the 4 or 5 years that they've now been in operation. It used to be the case that you were getting very small boats coming across with no more than about a dozen or 15 or so people on the boats. Over the years, they've got these boats made to order in China, shipped to Turkey, then up to Germany, and then taken to the beaches of northwestern France and assembled there. It's a production line that seems to be well-resourced. There's never seems to be a shortage, even when you get one of these people smuggling gangs taken out. There's others there waiting that fill the gap and, put the migrants on. They take the money. It's on a good week, millions of pounds that they are making out of this criminal enterprise.